The court will call 21 CR 2296, People of the State of Colorado versus Stacy Rodriguez. Ms. Rodriguez appears today with counsels Ms. Trujillo and Ms. Devereaux. Mr. Praley and Mr. McCormick appear today for the state. We come on today for day 5 of jury trial, and we are outside of the presence of the jury. Any issues that we need to address before we bring the jury in and resume from the state?
No.
Anything from the defense?
No, thank you.
Thank you. And then with regard to scheduling, I think we had talked about this previously, but I can't remember when this was set. I have a continuation on a different homicide trial, and we had to set the continuation on that preliminary hearing for 4 p.m., so we'll need to recess shortly before 4 today.
Okay. I guess there is one issue in looking at these photos from the defense. I don't know if the court wants to take that up now or during Mr. Blair's testimony.
If we can address it now, we might as well address it now.
It's clear from the pictures that they're attempting to bring in photographs of marijuana pipes or pipes of the sort that would have been in Mr. Dickerson's house at the time of the fire. In looking at these photos in comparison with the toxicology reports, I don't believe there's any allegation that marijuana was in his system. So I think the court should just rule as an initial matter how that would be relevant.
And I don't know what photos you're referring to. Can you? Sure. And from the defense, any response to that?
Your Honor, this isn't necessarily going to the toxicology. I would note the toxicology only comes back positive for a handful of substances. THC was not tested on that panel, but this is going to the defense of the investigation of what was found inside the home.
And Mr. Trujillo, can you elaborate that? You said it goes to the defense on what was found inside the home.
So it's, I guess, twofold. Part of it goes to our defense, which I can provide a sealed offer of proof, but for purposes of not a sealed offer of proof, this is also what officers found in the home. This is what they investigated. This is what they had noted was noteworthy in their own reports, in their body worn. They are things found in the home. So if the prosecution is able to limit the only materials that were found in the home, especially if we're talking about the bedroom in regard to the Zales box, the other jewelry box, that's very much limiting what was actually found in the house. All of these would be relevant for what was ultimately found when they had searched the entire home. And again, I can make a sealed offer of proof if the court wants.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And Mr. Praley, you said the results of the autopsy indicated no THC marijuana in his system?
That's correct. I don't believe there's any aspect of any other substance other than alcohol to my knowledge.
All right. Well, it seems to me that we just have a situation of competing evidence. The autopsy report seems to indicate that there was Mr. Dickerson had no marijuana in his system. And certainly the defense can present evidence if they want to argue that there was, and the parties can address which is the better evidence in their presentation of evidence and their questioning of witnesses and their closing arguments. So at least at this point in time, I don't think I need to prohibit this evidence prior to testimony. If there are any other separate objections to this evidence, we'll deal with those contemporaneously. Mr. Hill, do you want to come grab these?
Yes.
Is there anything else that we need to address before we bring the jury in?
No.
And we finished on Mr. Blair, is that right?
We're recalling.
Recalling Mr. Blair, yes. Can you bring the jury in?
Do you want him to take the stand again?
Is he here?
Yes.
If you can bring him in, and we'll bring him up once the jury is set. Yes, you can bring them in. Please rise for the jury. All right, thank you. Please be seated. Detective, will you remain standing? Since we're beginning a new day, I'm going to swear you in again. Sir, do you swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you, sir. Go ahead and have a seat. And Detective, if you can get as close to the microphone as is reasonable. And Mr. Praley, you may resume.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sir, I'm going to reapproach with People's Exhibit 3.
Thank you.
I had provided you the tag number yesterday on that disc. Was that associated with this case?
Yes, it is.
And specifically connected with your duties?
Yes, it is.
Have you now had the ability to view the contents of People's Exhibit 3?
I did.
Is it fair and accurate?
Yes, it is.
Does it contain the footage that you dealt with in this investigation?
Yes, it does.
Specifically as it pertains to the video dealing with 2406 15th Avenue Court?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, move for omission at 3.
Any objection?
Confrontation.
All right, the court will overrule the objection and admit into evidence states 3. And you may publish where appropriate.
Sir, after dealing with the video, can you describe to the jury what your other roles in the investigation were?
In this investigation, I was mainly the on-scene evidence processing. There's multiple search warrants, so it would be 3 days straight going to the scene and doing collection of evidence such as photos or individual items, and then bringing those back and booking those into evidence.
And can you describe, is there a specific process or procedure that you go through from the time that you start that and then how you ultimately clear the scene and finish?
Yep. So once you get the signed search warrant, the very first thing when you're on scene is you start taking overall photographs. So it'd be on the exterior, in this case, the home, taking every photograph on there. Then you're moving inside, in this case, throughout the house, taking all those photos before you touch or move anything or collect any physical items. So you're just trying to identify what's important to the investigation, and that's all done in the timeline of the search warrant. In this case, was over 3 days, so October 3rd, 4th, and 5th.
Okay. Sir, if I could actually approach. If I can approach.
Yes, go ahead.
Sir, if you could take a look at 144. Do you recognize that?
I do.
And can you describe what that is?
So the scene of this investigation was at 2413 15th Avenue Court. This is a picture of an overhead diagram of that residence.
Is this diagram fair and accurate to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, at this time I move for the admission of 144.
Any objection to 144?
No objection.
All right, the court will admit into evidence 144, and you may publish where appropriate.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sir, as you go through the process, you noted that you're taking photographs and then collecting evidence. Did you specifically take these photographs in this case?
Yes, I did.
If I could approach with what's been marked as People's Exhibits 7 through 51.
7 through 51, go ahead.
Sir, if you can take a moment to look at people. Ready?
Yeah,
Recognize all of them?
I do.
Were they pictures you took?
Yes, they are.
Are they fair and accurate?
They are.
Move for the admission of 7 through 51.
Any objection through to states 7 through 51?
Yes. Could I please see 14 through 17, and then could we approach?
Sure.
And Cobb.
And so when you're taking pictures, is that at his direction?
Some of them would be, yes,
Okay. Specific to his opinion regarding the fire.
correct.
Okay. I want to start with just the basic overviews, but is it fair to say there would be certain things in these pictures that would be better explained by Lieutenant Cobb?
Yes.
Okay. If we could just start with 7. And sir, it'll be up to your right, if that's easier, or you have the printed version obviously in front of you.
Turn here.
Can you describe what we're looking at here, sir?
This is standing in the cul-de-sac in front of the scene, so it's just a photograph of basically the overall view from the street.
Okay. If we could show 9.
This is now standing in the driveway. This was the single garage.
Okay. 13.
This is standing on the front porch of the main entry to the home, and you're getting a slight view of the south side of the living room.
Okay. And so just to help us orient ourselves as we're looking at the diagram on 144, can you generally describe where we would be looking at in People's Exhibit 13 on 144?
So, may I?
Yes. Just make sure to speak loudly.
I'm standing right here in the doorway, so the view is looking out this, and you can see this window here in the background.
And for the record, you have motioned on the right side of the exhibit near 15th Avenue Court and then in a downward direction. Is that fair?
Correct. So this would be the southeast corner of the home.
Thank you. Now, sir, you noted that this was a multi-day process.
Yes.
Based on this photo, can you describe when it would have been in the process?
October 3rd.
Okay, and how do you know that?
This was day 1.
Right.
We had not even begun to actually physically search the home. This was simply to document the state we found it in.
All right, and if you can, just progress us through a little bit how you take it from these initial photos and how you progress through actually sifting or searching and the layers that you would have to do in a scene such as this.
So arson scenes are really unusual because, as you can tell, the amount of fire debris, especially from the ceiling, comes down and covers everything that you would never have in a typical crime scene. So in an arson, after you take your initial photos such as this, you then have to take each layer down, and you're going through that rubble looking for then any items of evidence to the floor, and then from there you almost have to rebuild what that scene would look like, and again relying heavily on a certified arson inspector like Lieutenant Cobb. So we put back items of furniture that we can, so you see like the yellow, like a couch and things like that. So you kind of rebuild and reconstruct, and then you're taking more photos throughout that process as well. They also almost have to be done during daylight hours, which is another reason we hold the scene, because everything is charred, and so lighting is very difficult.
Thank you for that explanation. If we could show 14. Can you describe what we're looking at there, sir?
That was the front door.
Okay. 15.
Another view of the front door.
And what was noteworthy for you in People's Exhibit 15?
You can see some of the burn, the smoke damage, and that obviously it was it sustained high levels of heat is the description, just how deformed it was. Obviously fire had to move the door when they arrived on scene.
Okay. And 16.
That's the garage door.
17.
That would be the front large picture window. As you can see, inside you're facing, you'd be looking east. So this is standing just outside, looking west into the living room.
Okay. So, sir, just to be clear, you had pointed to People's Exhibit 144. I appreciate that. And you had directed it near that front window. Would that be by the yellow object that you had previously motioned was the couch?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And fair to say that the glass was all broken out?
Yes, most of the windows, the heat burst the glass from inside.
Okay, and so was there a lot of glass as you went layer by layer on the floor?
Yes, there was glass throughout all the debris.
18? Can you direct us where Exhibit 18 would be?
So you're standing just inside the garage door opening. You can see the end of his car here, and then to your left is a garage entrance that went into the kitchen.
Okay. $19, briefly?
That was the vehicle parked inside the garage.
So we've turned, I guess.
Yeah, you're standing at the back of the garage, which would lead into the backyard, looking back towards the main garage door.
20?
So this is stepping just inside the front door. Now you have a more view of the living room in its entirety.
All right, so sir, going back to 144, sorry to keep doing this. If we were looking at that front door on 144 and the exhibit that was just published, we would be turned towards the left in the living room?
Correct.
Okay. 21? Where are we looking at here, sir?
A pretty similar view. This is a little further in, but again, if you walked into the home and looked to your left, you're looking to the back corner here of the living room. You can obviously see all the drywall, everything, and the ceiling insulation is what you're seeing on the floor there with remnants of furniture.
22?
When you walk in the front door and you're looking straight ahead, there was an entrance to the hallway, which would then lead to the bathroom and the bedrooms.
Okay. 23 briefly?
Standing in the living room looking out through the main window, the large window.
I'm going to skip ahead to 27.
This is from the living room walking into the kitchen. So you can see that door there is the one that led into the garage. So if you walked in and took a right in the home, right into the kitchen, that's the view you're looking at here.
Moving to 30.
So now standing in the kitchen, you're looking back towards that front door in the living room, which you can now see through the wall. See kind of the entirety of the living room from the kitchen view.
31.
So just off the left, that's the living room. So this is the doorway into the hallway. From that position, you could turn your first bedroom on your left, which is the southwest bedroom. This is a view looking through that door, bedroom door.
32.
So now stepping into that bedroom, you can see as you walk in, it's more to the right. That's where the bed and then the closet would be on your right.
And to be clear on People's Exhibit 144, when we're looking at 32 here, it would be the southwest bedroom?
Correct. This bedroom right here.
Thank you. 33.
This is just a overall picture of the bed in this bedroom.
34.
This again shows the other side of the bedroom where the closet was and the window, and again, the bed.
Sir, in nearly the middle of this photograph, did you notice something on the bed, specifically a box?
Yes, this room had items laid out on the bed. The small box there is a small jewelry box typically used to hold a ring.
Okay. And did you take additional photographs that have now been admitted of that?
Yes, I did.
36, would this be the closet?
Yes, that's this bedroom's closet.
Okay. And is that how you had found it?
Yes.
Okay. So to be fair, it wasn't like there were clothes hangers or anything up at the time you got there. You take them off, put them on the bed.
No, nothing had been moved.
Okay. 37.
That's a view of the bed and then the items that had been laid out on the bed.
And again, not laid out by you.
Not by me.
To your knowledge, by anyone else?
I do not know.
Okay. Going back to this layered approach and going to the living room, if we could show 40 briefly. Sir, what are we looking at there?
This is the living room floor.
Okay. And 41.
This is again the living room floor. Obviously talking with fire personnel when they had to crawl through a burning building and that and discovered the body, we were able to orient to the best of our knowledge where they pulled the body from the home, which was in the living room. So we established kind of a preliminary placement for that. So that says head, if you can't read it from there, and feet would be the one to top. So this is that, what we would believe is the couch and the picture window on the left side of the screen there.
Okay. 42, briefly. What are we looking at there, sir?
So again, as you start to move down in the debris, this was clothing, which was then saturated in body matter and blood.
43.
Another view of the same.
44.
So this is where you can see a lot of the debris after being sifted through and removed from the home. This area, a lot more careful on the layout, but it gave a better picture. You can see an outline of clothing, some of it with the red color there, obviously the blood-soaked clothing. And the frame of the couch is at the top here.
45.
So this is where we start to try to put furniture back in and get a better picture of what this laid out before the fire. So you can see the picture window, the couch, and then again, I guess closest to me on the screen is the head and then going out towards the feet.
As would be depicted on 144, the diagram.
Correct.
46.
Once that evidence was collected, this was a picture to show basically the only clean area on that flooring, which is preserved by the body.
Okay. Did it appear that there was a lot of blood on the floor based on what you could see in the clothing?
Objection, expert opinion.
All right,
Expert opinion.
the court will overrule the objection.
You can answer, sir.
Yes, all the clothing was blood soaked, and that's what basically preserves this is the liquid.
Going back just briefly to what was found on the bed, 47.
That's the picture of the ring box, and then I believe that's a wallet.
Okay. $49.
It's a close-up of the ring box, and that's an SD card, like for a camera, a storage.
The outside of that box, 48.
And then obviously a Zales company ring box, just closed now.
Are you familiar with that company?
I am.
What general business is it?
It's a jewelry store.
Hearsay.
All right, I'll overrule the objection.
It's a jewelry store.
50. Why'd you take that photo, sir?
This was interesting because once you remove all the items, it just showed very much an imprint that these items were there before the fire started. That way there's no smoke damage where we removed items from.
And a different view of that in 51.
So another view there, you can see where items had been lying before the fire started.
Okay. Sir, I also want to approach with what's been marked as People's Exhibit 145 and 146. $145 being the photo. Do you recognize that photo?
I do.
Is that a fair and accurate photograph?
It is.
What does it generally depict?
The backyard, there was a trash bin. This is a picture if you open the lid and took a picture of inside the trash bin.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time, I move for admission of 145.
Any objection to 145?
No.
All right, the court will admit into evidence 145. You may publish where appropriate.
As to 146, is that a physical item that was observed in 145?
Yes, it is.
Did you assist in that search warrant portion and collecting that and then entering it into evidence?
I did.
Do you recognize it from this investigation?
Yes, I do.
Your Honor, at this time, move for admission of 146.
Any objection to 146?
No.
All right, the court will admit into evidence 146.
Sir, as it pertains to the glass and the general areas that you had talked about, when you're going through that layer by layer approach and there's that glass on the floor, would you have been able to differentiate with all the debris a difference of a window versus any kind of other glass?
I personally would not be able to, no.
And you didn't, I guess.
No.
Those are my questions at this time.
All right, thank you. Any cross-examination? Go ahead, please.
Yes, thank you.
We have one moment, Your Honor, to set up.
I'm sorry.
We just have one moment to set up, please.
Sure.
Thank you.
Push the laptops over. Right here, please.
Good morning, Detective Blair.
Good morning.
Okay. I'm going to refer, I think, to People's 144 a little bit, so we can kind of keep that in mind. I want to start off when you first got to the house. So if we're looking at I guess, the front door. So that's coming from the 15th Avenue Court area, right?
Correct.
Okay. And you said, and we can kind of see the stick figure on there, when you first get into the house, you believe that the body was found laying face up about 10 feet inside that door, correct?
Yes, I don't recall if it was face up or face down in my reports. I can look through them if you need.
Sure. Would that refresh your recollection? I have your report.
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, permission to approach?
Yes, go ahead.
It's 24.
Thank you.
Refresh your recollection?
Yes.
Okay. So you believe that the body was face up?
Yes.
Okay. And we're speaking about Mr. Dickerson, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So when we were looking, I suppose maybe kind of help explain, you determined that the couch was up against the window. Is that correct if I'm looking at that diagram?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And was this based on the springs that were found when you were looking in the living room?
Correct.
Okay. And the springs would have been assuming from the couch, correct?
Correct.
But just to be clear, this is a best estimate based on you and perhaps even Lieutenant Cobb, given you weren't aware of how the actual house was laid out prior to the fire, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So if we're looking at 10 feet in, so just purposes maybe to orient the jury when we're looking at the stick figure, 10 feet into the left, and then immediately when you walk in that front door, you go directly into the kitchen, correct? To the right, I suppose.
Yes, to the right's the kitchen, so then to your left would be the body diagram.
Okay. And then I think it's clear from the diagram, but just out of an abundance of caution, there is no door specifically separating the living room from the kitchen. It's just a doorway, correct?
An opening, yeah.
Okay, an opening, sure. And then when you go into the kitchen, you were able to see, I suppose, the sink on one side. You had kind of the oven on one side, and then toward the sink, which I guess would have been on the 15th Avenue Court side, there was also then like a cabinet, correct?
I believe so.
Okay. And then to get to the garage, the only way to get to the garage from the inside the house was through the kitchen, right?
From inside, yes.
Okay. And then the only way to get to the covered patio, you could get outside through the garage, right, to the backyard?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And then to get to the covered patio, would you have to go through the bedroom closest to the garage or the bathroom, or how would that work?
I don't recall a separate entrance besides the garage entrance to the backyard.
Okay. So that covered patio area, then the only way to get out there would have been through the garage.
Or the fence, I guess, yes.
Yeah, okay. So either outside completely, or if you were inside the house, you would go through the garage to get out into
That's
the
right.
back. Okay, fair enough. And then the bedroom that we see, I suppose, like the south, the bottom of that diagram was presumed to be Mr. Dickerson's, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then the bedroom closest to the garage was presumed to be his roommate's.
Yes.
And then a shared bath.
Correct.
Okay. And then obviously I think this is clear out of abundance of caution. This is a ranch style home. There was no basement,
That's correct.
no upper level.
No.
Okay. I want to go in when you search the bedroom, Mr. Dickerson's bedroom. Okay. You noted in your report that you actually just reviewed, or sorry, I apologize, maybe not that report. But in your reports when you were doing the search warrant of the home, that you had found multiple bags on top of the bed, correct?
Yes.
And in those bags, in some of the bags were numerous glass pipes, right?
That's correct.
All right, I want to show you what's been marked as defendant's exhibits I, J, K. Your Honor, permission to approach, previously
Yes.
been shown to the prosecution.
Yes, go ahead.
Detective Blair, have you had a chance to look at those?
I did.
Okay. Do these look like photos that you had taken when you were looking at Mr. Dickerson's room on October 3rd and 4th?
Yes.
Okay. Do these look fair and accurate to what you had seen?
Yes.
And can you, do these contain photos of marijuana pipes?
Yes.
As well as like maybe like holders, silicone holders?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, we would move to admit I, J, and K and publish.
And from the state, any further objection?
No.
All right. Noting the state's previous objection, I will overrule and admit into evidence states I, J, and K. Or I'm sorry, defense I, J, and K, and you may publish at your discretion.
So Detective Blair, here we're looking at defense I, right?
Yes.
Okay. And so here, this is what we believe to, or what you believe to be Mr. Dickerson's bed?
I do.
Okay. And then we can see at least 3 marijuana pipes in the very front center. So we've got a black one, a rainbow one, and
Yes.
a blue and green one. Okay, and then if we're looking up to the top right of that photo, it looks like there's another one in a case. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And then when we're looking at this photo itself, kind of thinking of what you talked about with Mr. Parelia, you believe that items were on the bed prior to the fire starting based on there being no smoke sometimes on whatever that maybe like mattress cover is, right?
Yes.
Okay, when we're looking at this photo, it looks like you had moved some of the things to take the photo, right? Fair to
That's
say?
correct.
Okay, all right. If we could move on to J, please. Okay, and then look behind you, another photo, defense J. Looks like there's another case and then a black pipe, right?
Yes.
Okay, and then if we could go to K, please. And then here we're same bed, right?
Correct.
And then it looks like if we're looking at this to just kind of orient the jury, the previous 2 photos were on, I suppose, like the farther left side of the bed if we're looking at the bed this way, right?
I believe so. These ones are a little harder to orient.
Okay. But if we're looking at now the down part of the bed here, we've got, if we're looking at kind of maybe the middle left, it looks like there's like a silicone holder that's black and white.
Correct.
Okay. And then we have a pipe in a case, correct?
Yes.
Right down below, and then to the right of that, we have 2 pipes that are loose.
Yes.
Okay, and then to the far right, we have another silicone container.
Correct.
Okay, and Detective Blair, you've, how long have you been with GPD?
About 8 years.
Okay, you've done a lot of DUI investigations. Or a handful, perhaps?
A handful, yes.
It's been a minute?
It has.
Okay, but you've done drug investigations?
Yes.
Okay, so when you're looking for certain things, when you saw these silicone containers, to you, in your opinion, based on your training and experience, these look like these might have been holding like marijuana hash oil or wax at one point, or could have been, right?
Commonly used for that, yes.
Okay. And then within these, and we see that blue bag right on the bed too, in that blue bag is where you found a lot of the marijuana pipes, right?
I believe so.
Okay. And then right below, and I suppose there was another bag as well, like a black bag that had marijuana pipes as well. Does that sound correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you also found marijuana pipes when you first walked in. Kind of there was like a drawer or a desk by the couch in the living room, and you found some more marijuana pipes in there, right?
I believe there was some in the living room. I don't remember right now exactly where, but yes, we did find additional glass pipes.
Okay, in the living room.
Yes.
Okay. Now I want to show you what's been previously marked as defense exhibits Q and R. Permission to approach.
Yes, go ahead.
So there are also photos that you took in the execution of the search warrant here.
Yes.
Okay. And then these photos are a little bit different. These photos are kind of after had been placed into evidence, right? At the Greeley Police Department.
Correct.
Okay, but still fair and accurate to what you had seen in Mr. Dickerson's home, right?
It is.
Okay. Your Honor, we would move to admit and publish, please.
Any objection to Q and R? No. All right, the court will admit into evidence defense Q and R, and you may publish when appropriate.
Okay, so looking at Defense Exhibit Q, this is the label here says item 41, correct? Like on the bag itself?
It says 47.
I apologize,
Okay.
47.
47.
Okay, and so just so that the jury understands, this is kind of the label that you would do after you collect things from a scene, you put it into evidence, give it a specific label, so we all know exactly what it is later.
Yes.
Okay, and so this item 47 says drug paraphernalia, and does that then match then Defense Exhibit R of what would have been in that bag?
I believe so.
We could go to Defense Exhibit R, please. And so now these are just what we just looked at on the bed, maybe just easier to see, the different pipes, the different cases, and the silicone containers, correct?
Yes.
And then on the far right, there looks like there might be like a metal, I guess like file, not necessarily a file, but a metal piece. Do you see what I'm talking about?
I don't know exactly what it is.
Okay. In your experience, could this be used for individuals that might be using a butane torch for marijuana wax or hash oil?
I don't know exactly what that is.
Okay, that's okay. I
And
appreciate that.
to be fair, this was Officer DeSandre that did this particular evidence. So
Right, but it is what we were looking at on the bed that you had photographed, correct?
some of it is, yes.
Yes, okay. Thank you.
But not that.
Not that metal piece. Okay. And you said Officer DeSandre, he was also with you looking at the home, correct?
He was a major crime scene tech, so he was brought in.
Right. My question is, you all had both looked at the home together, correct?
Yes, we were there
Okay.
processing together.
Okay, thank you. All right, I want to move on now and show you what's been labeled as Defense Exhibit D. Your Honor, permission to approach?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, Detective Blair, does it look like, is this a photo that you also took in the execution of the search warrant of Mr. Dickerson's home?
Yes.
Okay, and does this look fair and accurate to what you saw in the kitchen?
Yes.
Okay, Your Honor, permission to admit and publish Defense Exhibit D.
Any objection to D? No. The court will accept into evidence defense D, and you may publish at your discretion.
Okay, I want to look at this, and we can zoom in if it's helpful. Looks like there are about 2 longer knives on the top end of this counter, right? Like more like kitchen knives.
I see the one here.
And then like a butter knife next to it, perhaps?
Perhaps.
Perhaps, okay. And you took a photo of that knife, right?
Yes.
Obviously. But you didn't collect this or put it into evidence, right?
No.
Okay. You never took any type of like swabs of this knife, right?
No.
And when we're thinking of swabs, different types of swabs that you might do, but generally when you're swabbing something, you're kind of taking maybe some material that might be on it to test later, right?
Correct.
And this could be to be looking for DNA or blood or anything like that.
That's correct.
Okay. And again, none of that was done for that knife, right?
No.
Okay. Okay. So speaking of kind of the different types of swabs, I want to move to the Budweiser bottle that the prosecution had admitted. Yes, that one. Kind of when you walked through with the prosecution of where you found that was outside of the home in a trash can, right?
Correct.
And that was the only Budweiser bottle that you had collected.
Yes.
And to your knowledge, was that the only Budweiser bottle that was collected by the Greeley Police Department?
To my knowledge, yes.
Okay. And that bottle looks relatively intact, right?
Yes.
Okay. It doesn't seem like there's any kind of like damage or broken pieces off the bottom of it?
No.
Nor off the top?
No.
Okay. And so I want to kind of talk about the purpose sometimes when you're going through a home, and specifically on October 5th. Does October 5th sound like the right day that you would have found the Budweiser bottle?
I believe so.
Okay. And so on October 5th, when we were talking about with the jury, how you were saying that the search warrant was done in like kind of like 3 days, right?
Correct.
And it was updated throughout those 3 days, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And so October 5th, it was updated, permitting you all to look for serological kind of evidence during the search, right?
I believe so.
Okay. And so when we're talking about serological stuff, again, we're talking about the blood, DNA, latent prints, things like that, right?
Yes.
Okay. And so you all went back on October 5th to look specifically for those types of items.
Yes.
Okay. And the Budweiser bottle was one of them, right?
Yes, it is.
You never swabbed that Budweiser bottle to see if there was any DNA on there,
No.
if there was any blood on there,
No.
if there was any latent prints on there.
No. We don't do that on scene.
Right. Sorry. So let me clarify. You could submit that to the Colorado Bureau of Investigation for them to do, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay. And that's pretty common in your experience as a law enforcement officer. You would collect what you determine to be evidence, send it then to the lab to then see if that serological data or DNA or whatever it might be is actually on that item, right?
Correct.
Okay. So with the focus of October 5th being that type of information, you then never sent what you found to the Colorado Bureau of Investigation for testing, right?
Not to my knowledge. I wasn't the lead investigator.
No, that's okay. I'm just asking about what you did.
I just collected items and booked them in evidence, correct?
Okay, sounds good. I want to move now to Defense Exhibit L and M.
L and M, all right, go ahead.
Okay, so let's start with L, or maybe it might be easier to start with M. Do these photos also look like photos you had taken when you were at Mr. Dickerson's home over those 3 days?
Yes,
Does this look fair and accurate to what you had seen?
it does.
Okay, Your Honor, we'd ask to admit and publish L and M.
Any objection to L and M?
None.
All right, the court will admit into evidence defense L and M, and you may publish at your discretion.
Apologies, I'd like to start with M. Okay, so was this a trash can then that you found in that bathroom that we were talking about?
Yes, it was.
Okay, and it's, again, only bathroom in the house.
It is.
And you found, it looks like a can, which might have been in Exhibit L, a pumpkin beer can, right?
Yes,
Okay, and then if we could go to L, please. And this was that can.
that's correct.
Okay. And again, the purpose of collecting these things, looking at the search warrant, having it been updated, was to collect information or evidence that could then later be tested for DNA, latent prints, blood, correct?
Correct.
Okay. You collected that can.
I did.
You didn't swab it or preserve it in any way, correct?
No, it was just packaged.
And then you also just packaged it but didn't send it to the Colorado Bureau of Investigation for testing, right?
I did not.
Okay. And to your knowledge, was that ever done? It's okay if you don't know.
I don't know.
And then this was the only can that you found in the house, right?
I believe so.
Okay. And when you were looking through, so I know we have the Budweiser can outside and then we have this pumpkin can inside. There were no other alcohol containers that you could see, right?
Not that I recall.
Okay. But again, similar to what the prosecution, I think, was kind of talking to you about, you wouldn't be able to decipher between different types of glass, right?
I would not.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Okay. So if we're looking at the Budweiser glass versus other type of clear glass, such as a window, right? You would be able to decipher between those two different types of glasses, right?
While they're intact?
Well, you've seen a broken bottle of a Budweiser glass, or have you seen broken glass that's dark?
Yes.
You've seen broken glass that's clear,
Yes.
and those would be different?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Nothing further on cross.
All right, thank you. Any redirect examination? Go ahead, please.
Sir, you were shown a lot of pictures of pipes. Was there anything during your search warrant to suggest anything regarding any recent use of those?
Objection, hearsay.
All right, the court will overrule the objection.
No,
Okay.
I don't know when they were last used.
Okay. Do you typically collect silverware at a scene?
I guess it depends on the crime, the incident.
Okay. Do you, in this case, going through it, did that look like that was used in any way, shape, or form?
No, it did not seem relevant.
Okay. Can you tell this jury, you've attended a lot of crime scenes, right? You've
I
had
have.
practice collecting.
Yes,
You're trying to look at items for evidentiary value.
correct.
How does burning an entire house deal with evidence? How does that impact it?
Arson scenes change everything at a crime scene. You lose the amount of heat. You lose, obviously, the latent prints, fingerprints most of the time. DNA is destroyed.
Objection
Then-
702.
All right.
The house and was burnt.
Yes,
You didn't send that off for DNA or fingerprints.
I did not know.
Based on your direct experience, how does arson impact the things that you directly saw and that you directly didn't send to the lab?
I'm looking at Defendant's Exhibit D, but it's the photograph that was the knives and the silverware. So even in that picture, you see everything is discolored. Things are covered in fine ash and debris. Things are melted, so they're deformed. The countertop itself, you have the charring, so nothing is as it was in an arson scene.
And that particularly applies to your analysis for fingerprints
Correct.
and for DNA.
Yes.
You were asked about glass. Could you decipher a broken beer bottle, specifically a Budweiser? Is that fair?
Yes.
Versus all the other glass that would be in this scene.
I would not be able to. The glass itself would be discolored as well.
The glass from the windows would be discolored.
Yes.
Okay. And why would that be?
Well, inside, everything's been, not only the smoke and the fire, but when the fire is put out, everything is introduced to water. So now everything is waterlogged and then dries with the fire debris. So as you see from the pictures, unfortunately, in an arson scene, a lot when you walk in, everything's the same color. Everything's black.
Those are my questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Detective, you can leave the witness stand. Thank you, sir. The state may call their next witness.
Your Honor, at this time, the people called John Colgate.
All right,
Your Honor.
thank you.
He's still under our subpoena.
Okay, sir. Sir, you can leave the